So the question still remains, who are these gods? What is their role? Now, as we have been arguing, that the verb awake is important and that should be given due respect. It means that the gods awake has definitely the connotation of going through cycles of creation. In every cycle of creation, the gods come into play and they start playing their role. That is what awake would indicate. In other words, they are not really the gods who are specifically meant for transfiguration. The word awake would convey that kind of a sense also. Now, if the divine event has to proceed, has to make progress, is it necessary that these gods get up, awake? Is it necessary that these gods wake up, that the divine event can be moving forward in some manner or the other, you see? Now, I think we have to some extent disconnect the progress of the divine event with these gods. See, in this passage, as we have seen earlier, these gods, earlier passages are transfiguring gods. There was no divine event in the earlier passage. So these are important clues in a certain sense. Therefore, these gods are not really connected with transfiguration. Then what are these gods? What do they do? And awake means they keep on awaking repeatedly. Every day they keep on awaking. Every day, every cycle of creation, they get up and start their work. Now, if there were earlier 6 creations, as the mother says, there were 6 pralayas. If there were earlier 6 creations, certainly those creations were not meant for transfiguration. Otherwise, they would not have been dissolved. Earlier creations were not for dissolution, were not for transfiguration. So, these gods cannot be in the context of transfiguration, as in this line what we are here to see. They are playing some other kind of a role. What is the role they can play? The role they can play, these gods, in this passage, is connected with a mother story of the separation of the 4 powers. She says the 4 powers went very far away from the divine origin because they enjoyed absolute freedom and they could do whatever they want. That is the beauty of the freedom. They went so far away, they cut off their contact with their own origin and became therefore opposite. Life became death, truth became falsehood, bliss became suffering, consciousness became inconscience. These are the separations which are taken naturally. When this happened, then there was the second plunge. There was the second creation. The divine mediatrix, the divine creatrix, divine mother, she was told, go and send another set of emanations. And these emanations were the gods. The second set of emanations were the gods. Now, they are not the gods who are sent for transformation. They are not sent for transformation. They are sent for doing their own work in the course of the creation's activity. The 4 powers separated from the divine origin, in fact, simply means that it is involution. How the divine became the opposite. How he turned exactly what he is not. How he became the void, how he became the opposite. So that is the involution. Now these gods, as second emanations which came forward, were to correct this mistake of the separation which had arisen. That is what the mother says, to correct the mistake which had occurred there, you see. And what is the mistake? How the correction is going to take place? The correction is going to be made by evolution. So these transcendental gods are in the context of evolution being taken forward, being carried out, you see. Not for transfiguration, but for evolution. You see. That is the essence of this particular line where you see all the context of see. So the first four emanations became opposite because of their freedom. These gods were created as second emanations, came into existence as second emanation, and they were therefore in the context of correcting what had happened. Correcting means carrying out the evolution forward, you see. That is what these gods are. So their role is in the context of evolution directly, not of transfiguration. Now, these gods, they are the transcendental. The earlier four powers, they had absolute freedom and they could do whatever they want. These gods did not have that absolute freedom. They were created as kind of typal beings. So they are the typal gods in the transcendent. Typal gods, each god having his own specific quality, his own specific role, his own character, and that being introduced into the evolution. So what we have got here, not freedom but typalness of the gods. The gods awake, now they awake periodically, and nothing could happen earlier because they are not transfiguration, they are not the gods of transformation, nothing could happen. Besides that, things can happen, transfiguration can happen, the divine event can move forward only with the work of Savitri, not with the work of the gods, with the work of Savitri. She has to take the mortal birth, she has to do whatever is necessary to be done. What is that she has to do? She sees the context, that it is the mind of night which is standing in the way of the divine event. So her task is defined. Her task is to remove this obstacle which is standing across the path of the divine event, you see. Now, when she is doing that work, then there could be another set of gods coming into picture, the gods of transformation. So the gods of transformation will come when Savitri has started doing her work here, has accomplished her work. New gods of creation will come into place, so to say. So these gods and the new gods which will come, I will say there is a kind of a difference between the two. These gods are for carrying out the evolution. The evolution had taken place. Things had to be now brought to the stage of evolution up to a certain point. Up to a certain point, now when this certain point is reached, that radically things can change. Things can change only with the appearance of Savitri. And when does Savitri come into play? Savitri comes into play when the evolution has considerably advanced to the stage of the mental being. Savitri too awoke among these human tribes. That is the good. Savitri too awoke. Her actual work begins with the mental being. From mental being onward, she has to take things forward, bring down higher being, higher consciousness, higher powers of the spirit into play here, you see. So it is when, and that can happen only in this creation. It did not happen earlier. You see, had Savitri been present in the earlier creations, they would not have met the fate of dissolution of Pralaya. Had Savitri been there in the earlier creation, they would not have met the fate of the Pralaya at all, you see. In this particular creation, when the gods have brought the entire process of evolution to the mental being sufficiently open now to higher possibilities, then enters in Savitri. Then enters in Savitri. And it is at that point the most important obstacle of the mind of night, it is that she has to tackle and remove. So I will say that is the entire the connotation of the mind of night, of the divine event, and of the gods awake. These three phrases, see, they are very the kind of powerful phrases, and there is a kind of a link also between them. Gods cannot awake unless the work begins. The transforming gods cannot arrive unless Savitri enters in the picture. Divine event cannot make progress unless she removes this obstacle of the mind of night. So I will say, therefore, he says in the earlier draft, he says, she is expecting her change, musing for a change. That change, who is going to bring? Savitri. That change, who is going to bring? So you can see how dense the new language has become compared with what we had in the earlier draft, you see. Across the path of the divine event. Now, as I told you, these two sentences, apart from the metaphysics of creation, also illustrate the entire poetic technique employed by the poet in his epic Savitri. That it is basically end-stopped line, pentametric verse with enjama, with variations in the feet and till that. See, if you see now, the first line, it was the hour before the gods awake. It's a perfect rhythm. T-tum, 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 T-tum. Goes on. Iambic. A perfect beat, you see. It was the hour before the gods awake, you see. Perfect Iambic line, you see. Was, as I told you earlier, I will accent it because of the position. Otherwise, in the English language, this is a Pyrrhic, short. It was, you don't say was, it was you see. That is how you see. Across, now the second line, across the path. First is across, again I am, the path, again and I am, of the Pyrrhic, short. Variation in the poetic technique. Divine, again I am, event, again and I am. So here got I am, Pyrrhic, I am. The third line, the huge, forebode, the mind of night, alone. This is a perfect iambic line. The huge, short long, forebode, short long, the mind, short long, of night, short long, alone, short long. This is a perfect pentametric iambic line. See, in her unlit temple of eternity, lay stretched immobile upon silent Samaj. Now, see, we have to be kind of attentive to the sense of rhythm while reading Savitri to get its proper essence of it. You see, lay stretched immobile upon silent Samaj. Normally, upon is short long. You see, upon. But here, the position demands that upon, not upon, upon. You read the line, lay stretched immobile upon silence Mars. See, that gives a kind of force. If you make it upon, not upon, you see, the force comes out with a different quality altogether. See, lay stretched is long, spondy, immob, short, long, that is am. Isle up is again short, long, upon, I am. On silence, short, longs, I am. Then Mars, again I am. So if you put upon, then the scansion becomes spondy, I am. So that is the rhythm now. See, it is very beautiful. It's very clear. It has to be upon. If you want to really get the full sense of it, you see, in her unlit temple of eternity, lay stretched, immobile upon silent Samaj. So that is the, again, as I said, the poetic technique is also illustrated directly in these two sentences. You have to be alert to the position of a word while giving accent. That flexibility is there to some extent in the English language, you see. In fact, there are a number of examples. I got a couple of examples upon let me see.
There are all these lines, this sentence, the first and the second are all pentametric.
All pentametric. All are in fact.
The fourth line are pentametric also.
All. In fact, all the lines in Savitri are pentametric,
Almost, yes, almost.
Except one or two which are 6-footer. All the lines in Savitri, or 23 or 11 lines are pentametric, except 2 or 3 which are not pentametric. You see. But pentameter not always iambic.
Yes, of course, variation.
There are variations of it, not always iambic. 93.7. Yeah.
Is it not a particularity of the Upanishads also, this way?
No, in the Sanskrit language, the meter is more or less fixed. This kind of variations which you have here in the English, that flexibility is not there in the classical languages. See, most of the, for instance, the Gita, I will say, of the 700 shlokas, except 53 are in what is called the Anushtuba meter. Means each line has got 18 syllables, so 16 syllables, divided into 8 plus 8, each line. Nayanam chandanti shastrani, nayanam 2, chindanti 3, shastrani 3, 8. Nayanam dahati pavakaha, again 2, 3, 3, 8. Each line is divided into 8 syllables like that, you see. And 2 lines like that make what is called the shloka in the Sanskrit. Now most of the Sanskrit poetry is in Anushtuba, but in the Rigveda there are 7 types of meters which are employed with the different variations by different rishis in different contexts. You see. But the pattern of the meter is quite rigid. It does not allow this kind of a flexibility what we have got in the English language. You see, they are more strict in their metrical formulations. You see. That is true also for the classical languages, I suppose. See, whether it is the Greek or Latin, it is more or less same. I don't know, but definitely Sanskrit is that way fixed. You see, the lyricism comes later on. The classical languages are fixed, that we see. So, 93.7. Rain tide bursts in upon torrents of it. You got it? Rain tide bursts upon torrents of it. Now here, rain. This we have already seen. This is book 4, Canto 1, the seasons, the opening canto that you see, and this is the rain tide. Now rain is being described in this particular passage. Rain tide burst in upon torrents of hate. Now here again, rain tide is a talkish, long short. Rain tide. You don't say rain tide. It's rain tide. Rain burst in. Again, long short. Upon. I will say it's not I am. It is upon. Rain tide burst in upon. So you have got talkie, 3 talkies. Short, long, long, short, long, short, long, short. And then torn wing, suddenly spondy, powerful, storm of heat am. So you see, the poetic technique is very important in the communication of your ideas and rhythm and all that you see. This is a very good example. Rain tide bursts in upon torn wings of heat. You can see the flow of the language also with that, you see. So, when you are reading this line, lay stretched, immobile upon, silence my, read upon, not upon. You don't like it? You see the difference between the two?